Hello and welcome to this edition of In Conversation. I'm joined by Jasmine, I'm joined by Hannah, and today we're talking about email marketing. One of the reasons I think we want to talk about this issue in particular is that every few months there's someone who's proclaiming the death of email marketing, and this obituary comes up at every marketing conference. There's always someone writing articles about it. So I want to try and tackle that question head on. So let's just spell it out. Is email marketing actually dead?
No. So I would say obviously there's negative connotations around email. I think if you compare it to other forms of digital, it's probably less sophisticated, kind of has connotations of being a bit spammy. But these are all kind of issues that brands can overcome. Don't know if you agree, Jasmine?
Yeah, I agree. I feel as though it's no wonder people actually think that it is dead.
Yeah.
Like from the new privacy policies and the data restrictions that entered last year, it's no wonder that people think that, well, that's basically the final bullet for email marketing.
Yeah.
But I actually just think that it's evolving, and I think as marketers we kind of need to evolve with it. And then I kind of think that for an email marketing manager, it's kind of like they're holding the trigger as to whether or not they kill their own emails or not.
Definitely.
If they don't evolve, then yeah, your emails are going to die.
Yeah.
But if you evolve with the times, then you're actually going to see a lot more benefit.
Yeah, definitely. I think even if we look at before we evolve it, I feel like email just has to be a base for any kind of marketing strategy, really. That's how you distribute most of your content. Like 99% of people check their emails every day. Return on investment for an email marketer is something like more than 4,000%. So I think even if you don't have a sophisticated stream in place, I think any kind of email marketing has to be there, just to get your content, any incentives out as well.
You touched on it with the data changes and the privacy changes. So one of the key sort of turning points in this kind of is email marketing dead is the introduction of GDPR last year. Now we know that a lot of businesses kind of rethought about how they do email marketing, how they think about their relationship with data. Anyway, do you think that some of this is down to the fact that a lot of businesses perhaps maybe they were overly cautious with GDPR, or they didn't respond to GDPR in the right way?
No, I kind of feel as though GDPR was introduced for the right reasons. So it wasn't to make marketing harder, it was to kind of give the control back to the consumer. And I think me as a consumer and an email marketer, I think it was the right thing to do. I kind of feel as though it was a shock to the system. It was massively.
Yeah, I think there was such a big build up to it as well, and it was so kind of ambiguous what brands were meant to do with data going forwards, but also the legacy data as well. So we didn't know what to do with things like legitimate interest. There weren't any proper rules around that. So I think that's why brands were probably overly cautious with it.
There's a lot of interpretation.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, like Jasmine says, obviously GDPR wasn't brought in to trip brands up. It was just so consumers knew what was happening with the data. And with that coming into effect, I think that consumers now expect you to do more with the data that they give you. They're choosing to give you that. So you're better off targeting them with something more specific and relevant to them and using the data properly rather than spamming them like with irrelevant content.
I kind of feel as though like brands kind of weren't communicating what the right or wrong thing was.
Yeah.
I think there were a lot of articles around what was wrong. So don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. However, there wasn't kind of a one-size-fits-all strategy as to how to do it right.
Yeah.
So you touched upon the legacy data. From a Stickyeyes perspective, it was kind of like a call as to what we did with that legacy data.
Yeah.
Like we kind of know brands such as Witherspoon's just got rid of their data. They just got rid of all of their database and started again. Probably because there wasn't a clear strategy as to how to make that legacy data opted in or approved.
Yeah,
really.
Definitely.
Okay. Another point you touched on as well that I want to kind of tackle is you said that email marketing isn't dead, it would be marketers themselves who kind of kill email if they do. So this is going to sound like an obvious question, but is it simply a case that it's not email as a medium is dead, but it's bad email?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's spot on, really.
We all still get poor email marketing. Like it was only the other week that I received an email trying to sell me speedboats, and I've just purchased a house. So unless they know something that I don't about my bank account, then I know full well I can't afford one of them.
Yeah.
But if, for example, if I got an email saying, oh, here is a side table that goes with the coffee table that you've just purchased, that is good email marketing, it's relevant, it's up to date, it's kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So that sort of emails are actually really effective.
Definitely. I think, like Jasmine says, and we touched on it before with GDPR, people are getting more savvy about what marketers are doing with the data. So they expect it to be more dynamic. They don't expect to receive the same kind of offers and content and product information as the friends might do, or someone else on the customer base.
Yeah, and I also think it differs from B2C to B2B as well. So GDPR has affected them both in different ways. So like from a B2C perspective, it's quite easy for them to build back up their database. So providing incentives such as 20% off, a £100 voucher to win potentially. They're building up their database is really easy. Whereas from a B2B perspective, it is about building that trust, showing that their content is relevant. So it might be a longer process to building back up your database to show that you are the brand that they can trust to provide them with relevant, up-to-date content.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we've got a little bit of a paradox here then. So on one hand you've got consumers, people receiving these emails, they want targeted, they want personalised, they want email truancy. On the other hand, you've got the spectre of GDPR and data privacy and people being more careful about the data they give away and being more wary of what companies know about them. So how do we kind of square that circle, if you like, by delivering relevant target emails in a way that doesn't abuse that data and doesn't come across as a bit intrusive or
I think it's in like things such as preference centres now. Obviously people can sign up and say what they want to receive and say what kind of information they actually want and how often they want it as well. So I think the more brands can implement things like preference centres, obviously the more control consumers have over the data and how we actually send out that information and what we're sending to them as well. So I think it's just giving them the choice really, and obviously the more relevant the content is to you, the more you're going to want to kind of go like click through or do a call to action as well. So I think it's just having that balance between not being too invasive and making it relevant to them.
Yeah, and I think it's about using the data that they do give you.
Yeah.
So if they're providing you with that data, then
they
you
want
should
you
be
to have
using
it. Yeah,
you should be using it. You should be seeing how they're engaging with your content, what type of content topics are they engaging with, what are their pain points. If they're providing you with this data, you should be using it to their benefit as well as yours. It's kind of a two-way street now, email marketing. It's not one way. So whereas before it was all about brands hammering the emails, not really thinking about who's on the other side, whereas GDPR has kind of given the consumer back their control to say this is a two-way street. I'm providing you with my data, so use it effectively to benefit the pair of us.
Yeah.
And if a brand does that, then it's going to be a hell of a lot more engaging and effective. Yeah,
definitely.
Okay, so let's try to wrap this up by asking you both finally, where do you see the future in what is coming up with email marketing that's going to kind of take this forward and make it even more effective and even more relevant?
I think there's two folds to it really. I think obviously on the design element of emails, obviously there's a lot more that you can do with it now, so you can make them a lot more engaging, you can include more on them for the consumers. But I think from the marketer's perspective, it's probably around automation, so it's kind of giving them the power and the time to look at, focus more on strategy rather than having to set up emails and analyse all the data themselves. The machine should be doing that for you, so it's just freeing up their time to focus on doing things that only human brains can.
Yeah, you should be doing the clever stuff.
Yeah.
So there's so many mundane tasks to do with email marketing, setting up the emails, doing the A/B test manually, choosing your subject line. There's this amazing thing now coming up, machine learning, and we should be using it. It basically calculates what the audience wants to receive anyway. It's going to pick the best subject line, it's going to pick the best timing for your emails. You spend so much time doing A/B testing when you should be using your clever CRM systems to do it for you.
Yeah.
We pay all this money as a brand to use these CRM systems, but are we using them to the fullest?
I can get on board with that. So, Hannah and Jasmine, thank you very much
Thank you.
for taking part today. So, thank you for joining us as well. We've got more on this over on the blog, so do make sure you go and check that out, and do make sure you hit the subscribe button as well to get the next editions of In Conversation. But thank you for joining us, and bye for now.